Today we have a question from the community, and that question is: I struggle with running. I feel like I have no endurance. How can I improve this without getting injured?
Running, everybody's favorite. When I program it into the metcons, do I have to run? Can I do rower?
They are like waiting for us to ask, who here will not run?
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't.
Not always. Sometimes I do, sometimes I write it even on the board. But sometimes, when it's 3 rounds of 400 meters, I don't think you should skip it. It's 12 minutes of running, maybe, if not more, if not less. So even if you're not good at running, you could still get a little bit of a different stimulus in. So don't always avoid running and go for the comfortableness of the row or the air bike. Yeah. A little bit of a different stimulus. It's good to have some variation. If it would be the choice between who's going to run a 5K or who's going to row it, okay, I get it. But yeah, usually, so this type of questions, I think most of the time it comes from people that they say, I struggle with running. How am I going to improve it? It's usually people that have strength, base strength, they can deadlift, they can do pull-ups, but they can't last so long in a long metcon, so they're starting to think, okay, obviously, if in a metcon with 1 kilometer runs, I'm completely dying, I'm lacking something. So how should I improve it? So let's go through it a little bit. How can you improve it? And let's start with, why do you feel you have no endurance? So the first thing I would ask a person that asks me this question is, do you actually run next to the classes, or the only running you're getting now is when I program it in the classes, and then you get maybe exposure, 3 rounds of 400 meters combined with other exercises of maybe a couple of rounds of 800 meters. Then that's where it starts. The metcon, I wouldn't consider to be the best place to improve your running. If you want to improve your running, you're going to have to run next to the class. It would be good to aim for, I would say, and I did that for years, and that's perfectly combinable with a CrossFit program 2 times a week. Run 2 times a week as a minimum. Of course, depending on your goals in running, might become 3, 4, even 5 times. But next to CrossFit, I would say 2 times a week.
So you want to add this, not so replace the workout of today and just run, or add it to your day-to-day training.
If you're coming 2 times a week or 3 times a week to the metcon classes, I would say find time to do, and starting with 2 times 20 minutes of running. Can be in the weekend, can be on that rest day. I'm going to explain also later that about easy running, that it will have a double-sided effect. 1, you will increase your endurance over time, and 2, it will also help you recover. For example, if on Monday I did a metcon with a lot of legs and my legs are a bit sore, if on Tuesday I'm going to run for 20-30 minutes easy, it's going to help me also recover. But it's also going to help me build the endurance. So we go a bit more on detail on that. So yeah, that's where I would say I will need you to run 2 times a week to make progress. Of course, eventually that also stagnates, but this is a good start point, and I think it's manageable also from a time point of view. You maybe another reason why you feel like it's hard running. It's maybe you do run next to the class, but you run too fast. You're making every run into an interval style or a hard workout, and the problem with that is that you don't run slow enough to build an aerobic base, the base of the pyramid. And you maybe don't run fast enough to get the benefits of threshold running or VO2 max. You run somewhere in between. So you're putting stress on your body, but you're not really reaping the benefits of it. So that might be something I would look into, that maybe you're running too fast and you need to build a bit of an aerobic base with easy running before you introduce the speed. Because if the base of your pyramid is small, you will not be able to keep the speed you want, or you'll not be able to run as fast as you want when needed. So one requires the other. And I'm also of the opinion that all year long you can do the easy running, but not all year long you can do the fast work. You need to see the fast work in cycles. And I also see it in our run club, where people are very eager to come to the run club because that's when I'm programming the speed work. But if you skip the easy work, the easy running, you won't have the full benefits of the speed work, and you might get injured because it's very intense. So that's then the next point, like maybe you're running too fast, and we'll go more in detail on what to change. And another point that I also see is you only run when there is an event. So all year long you don't run. But then in March is the Cluj Marathon. You didn't run in the winter, but like 6 weeks before the marathon you start running. Of course, running is uncomfortable because you don't do it enough. You do it in small cycles of only when there is an event. No, it's supposed to be something that you do on a regular basis. Let's keep the base 2 times a week. And then when you prepare for that marathon, for example, you do a little bit more running to prepare, but the base is still there. You're always doing 2 times a week, whatever distance, however you build it. But then when the event comes, the focus shifts a little bit more to that event, and maybe in those 4 weeks, maybe you do 1 training more, or maybe you drop 1 gym session for that 4 or 6 weeks period, and you will replace it with a run because your focus is now to get a little bit focused on that event that is coming. And some people, they're like, they don't run, and then only in those blocks, and then it makes running hard again because you never really build the base. So then the question, of course, is how do I build endurance with the running in this example? Focus first on building your volume before you add intensity. The volume gets built with easy running. That's at the conversational pace. It's easy to recover from because the speed is not very high. And only after I have a decent base, later on I will do, I don't know, threshold run, 4 sets of 8 minutes at race tempo, in between 2 minutes jog. Or I do the typical VO2 max intervals, 10 times 400 meters with, I don't know, 2 minutes full rest in between. Those are at high speeds, those are high intensity. But you don't add them before you build your body to the volume. So the volume, I would say, to be safe, the moment you can run 25 to 40 kilometers week after week after week with no pains, might be the idea that you can consider replacing some of that slow running with fast running. So I'm not doing more. I will, to make it easy, I will replace, if I do 40 kilometers a week, and I've done that for multiple weeks, I will take 1 run of 8 kilometers, and that will become now my threshold run, where I do, I don't know, 4 times 8 minutes at higher speeds. I drop the 8 kilometers of slow running, so in total now I run only 32 kilometers slow, and I will replace it with 8 minutes of fast running, but the volume is the same. It's still 40 kilometers in total, or 25 or 30. So eventually, after weeks where you do a minimum of 25 to 40 kilometers and you have no pains in your calves, in your Achilles, in your knees, it means your body got ready by all that slow running. And now I can start putting the speed in, because of course, if you want to run fast, you need to also run at those speeds and faster and around those speeds at race, or if you compare it to what I want to run speed-wise in the metcon, you also need to do those speeds to be good at them. But it starts with the base. So the base starts, 1, because it will build your base endurance, and 2, the important part, because also in the question is how do I build endurance in the running without getting injured, it will give you the time to let your body adapt to all that running. It's a lot of steps that you're doing in 20, 30, 40, an hour run. It's a lot of pressure on your body. So we build it, the stiffness in the tendons and getting used to it on your body by doing it slow. And by doing it small in the beginning. We build it with starting with 20 minutes, 2 times a week, 20 minutes. The next week, let's say that in 20 minutes, you run what? 4 kilometers maybe, let's say, to keep it easy. Then that's 8 kilometers in the week. The next week, you're going to add 10%. So let's say 10% to make it easy. it would be a kilometer. It's a bit less, it's 800 meters, but let's say a kilometer. You won't add more than a kilometer to the next run. So that means one run next week will be 5 and the other one will still be 4. Then we're at 9. You keep building by blocks of 10% each week, and you only add more if you're pain-free. You keep doing that until you build whatever base you want to build, 25, 30, 40 kilometers. And you keep doing that until you're there. And you do that 3-4 weeks at that same volume. Every week, 25, 25, 25, no pain. Okay, do you want to replace some of the work with speed work? Then that's the moment. So this is how you make the decision on how long do I do this. The goal is to build volume enough to get used to running and to be pain-free. When that happens and you finally reach that point, repeat it a couple of weeks, still pain-free. Okay, now replaced by speed work. Do 1 interval session a week and then go again like this. So why zone 2? Some of you might have heard about it builds mitochondria, and mitochondria, to keep it simple, is like in each muscle cell there are like little engines. By doing a lot of zone 2 work in each muscle cell, maybe instead of 10 small engines in that muscle cell, now you have 20 to 30 bigger engines in that muscle cell. Because you build that capacity in your muscle cells by all that repetitive slow work, now your same slow pace will start feeling easier. You don't get out of breath so fast, and you don't burn out so easily. So that burning your legs, it comes much later. When I started doing it, I would start feeling it after 3 kilometers in the beginning. Now it's like 8 or 10 kilometers before I start feeling that burn. This is all about building that mitochondria, so those little engines in your muscles. So simply said, building those little factories, engines in your muscles, it's like, like the chip tuning on a car. You're going from a small engine to a bigger engine just by putting in that base work. Another reason why to do the zone 2 work, so makes your engine bigger, so makes you last longer, and it makes that easy pace feel even easier. And eventually over time, imagine if you start like where I started was a year ago, was at an easy pace. An easy pace means I can still talk in full sentences. So for me, that's where my heart rate is around 145 beats per minute. Then I can still just talk with the person that is next to me. So at that pace, I was running 6 miles per kilometer. After a year, I was able to do that same conversation with the person at 145 beats per minute, but I was running a 450 pace.
That's amazing.
Basically, the zone 2 work, so building the mitochondria, makes the same easy talk pace faster. And you can imagine that the faster I get this, then that will transfer into my faster running as well. So the faster I can run easy, the more carryover it will have to my fast running, because now when I run fast, it will take me much longer before my heart rate starts spiking. Even though I'm running fast, it will last longer. I will be able to keep the same speed for longer, and the lactic acid will just take much longer to build up. If too much lactic acid builds up, eventually I need to slow down my pace. So it's a mix. Why it's important to build this base. And the problem with people is that they say it feels boring. Yeah, it feels boring. I agree, it feels boring. And maybe you should do it always. That's why on the road, when you see people doing that, usually with 2, because then they can talk. The time passes faster. It feels boring, but it works. So it's just about also dropping the ego a bit, because the first time I explain this to people and then they show me the data and I see their heart rate, their average heart rate, and I'm like, this cannot be zone 2. Your heart rate is too high for this. Because when I'm explaining it to them, it's like, okay, slow down so much that your heart rate just doesn't go at 160 if it needs to be 145. Like I usually use the Muffet tone method. It's a guy that wrote some books about zone 2, and he has an easy formula where you do 180 minus your age. So if you're like, this is like an estimate. So if you're like 40, 180 minus 40, you will keep your heartbeat around 140. In my case, I keep it around 145 to 152 because I actually tested what my zone 2 is in a lab with some lactate testing. So I don't need to estimate it. I know it exactly where it is. So you keep it there. So if then I see for this person, he was supposed to do 140, 145 and his average heartbeat is 160, it's like, you went too fast. Usually what happens in the beginning is that people, it hurts their ego a bit, that they can only run at 7 minutes per kilometer, and if they run faster, their heartbeat goes over 145. I know, it's a bit of a punch in the ego, but you need to accept and need to know why you're doing it. If I resist within a couple of months, the pace will go up and my heartbeat will be exactly the same. I will just be running faster. So you need to just drop the ego a bit and just trust the process. It's boring, but it works. And if you do some research by yourself, the most endurance athletes in the world, 70 to 80% of their total run volume, it's easy. They're at the lower heartbeats, they're not doing the intervals. The other 20 to 30% they are, but majority of their volume is there. 70, 80% is just slow. Like I said, you build the base first, and when you're there at that base building of easy runs and you're pain-free, make sure to only change one thing at a time. So you want to first build to, let's say, 30 kilometers a week for weeks, no pain. You won't be doing, I'm going to do now this week, I'm going to add the interval, but I'm also going to do from 30 to 35 on the easy runs. No, just change one. And I would say just build first all the volume on your easy runs, and then just start replacing by speed work. Don't do both. It's a bit of a big stress on your system, and I think it's better to just pick one or the other if you want to make a change. Keep in mind also that just like maybe you heard us say in the metcons when you're new to lifting weights, we sometimes say your muscles will be ready for the weights faster than your joints. The same with the running. Your lungs will be ready to push harder, faster than your joints, than your tendons. So be patient and build it easy. You're gonna run easy, and it's easier than you can run, but that's the point. We're trying to let the tendons adjust, your Achilles, your calves, so your body can handle all that volume of running, all that pounding. I know you think you can push more, but your calves and Achilles and what is it called under your foot, your plantar fasciitis, they're like weeks behind of what your lungs can do now. So give it time. You better holding off a bit, especially because in what we're talking about now is how can I avoid injuries? It's like by holding yourself back. The first signs that you will have is when you wake up in the morning, your calves will be very stiff. Or that part just like under your calf, like above your Achilles and under your calf. In the beginning, that's very stiff. Or your Achilles is a bit painful. Or maybe the lower legs are very heavy in general. It's like a sign that maybe you need to play around a little bit with your volume, or maybe stay at that low volume for a couple of weeks. That's like, I know what I said. We start with, okay, you run 8 kilometers in total this week in 2 runs of 4-4. If you're feeling these signs, just stay there and do a couple of weeks of 8. If that stiffness is still there every time after you run the day after, maybe you need to start lower. Maybe you need to do a run of 3 kilometers and 3 kilometers and see if the body still reacts the same. So you take a step back. So it's playing around a bit with the signals your body tells you, and then making smart adjustments from week to week on how much volume to add, and when the moment is that my body feels ready to do fast running. Strong calves, strong hamstrings, strong glutes, it will only help you prevent injury, and it will only help you become a stronger runner. I think also all runners, if running is your main sport, I think they should incorporate specific strength training for their lower body to strengthen up. Not just only rely on the running or on the plyometrics that they're sometimes only those rebounds to get their calves stronger and do that type of stuff. But lift weights like Romanian deadlifts, single leg work, back squats, all that kind of stuff, box step ups. just to strengthen. So the CrossFitter, but also especially the runner, our running will get better and will help prevent injury by just lifting weights and make our body stronger. So what could a week look like? 2 to 3 easy runs, zone 2. One of the two, over time, I would make it a little bit longer. So I wouldn't run necessarily, if I have 3, I wouldn't necessarily run 5, 5, 5. I would do maybe 4, 4, 7. So one to be a little bit longer, because also being longer under exposure of your easy run, it will help with getting the tendons used to it. It will help build your engine more. And then 2 to 3 metcons involving weights. And of those 2 to 3, maybe one of them could be the endurance class, where it's about putting your body, just like that long run, on a longer metcon, not only to have metcons of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but also to have 30, 40 minutes. That would be for somebody that wants to build endurance with running, but also with the classes. That's what I would say would be a week, how I would say that would be kind of ideal. But then the last thing I want to add to this is that we also need to make a little bit of a mental shift when it comes down to running. Like I said in the first sentences of the podcast, a lot of people already search comfort when they just see any running on the board and directly want to pick air bike or rower. To get better at something, we just need to expose ourselves to it. It doesn't need to be in big quantity. Just like I said, you will start maybe 2 times 20 minutes. That will maybe be 3 or 4 kilometers only, so in small quantities. And it might be walking, running in the beginning to keep your heart rate where I want it to be. But you have to, I don't know, do some inner how do they say that when you think about yourself? Introspection. Or how do you call that? Yeah, introspection. And I think a lot of you don't hate running, you just hate that you're not good at it. So, and a lot of people, and it's not only on running, they only want to do the stuff they're good at. But if we want to build a bit of general fitness, you need to also work your weaknesses. So, and I get it in strength. When we do strength work, you see fast progression. Endurance, the progress in the beginning, it's invisible, but it adds up over time. You just need to stay consistent with it. Even if it's only that 2 times a week, do that for 4 months. And I guarantee you, even with 2 times a week, you will see progress, but you need to stick with it. To sum it up, if running feels like your weakness, then that's exactly why you should train it. But you should train it with a plan. You shouldn't train it like at random, or you shouldn't rely on the classes only. The volume in the classes, it doesn't keep in consideration your heartbeat. It's not supposed to be an easy run when it's 3 rounds of 400 meters, come back in, do wall balls, do push-ups, go back out for a run. The goal there is to give you cardio stimulus, and there you will run at a pace that is sustainable, the fastest pace that is sustainable and repeatable. That's not a training plan to build your base endurance. So we build our base endurance next to the class, and I prefer data, so I will do it with the heart rate monitor so I can actually see where my heart rate is and keep it there. Or the other test is, of course, if I can't have a full conversation with the person next to me running, I'm going too fast, I need to slow down. What you can do is join our Smart Move Run Club. I will explain you again in detail what you should do before you join the Run Club, which means build your base. Because in the Run Club, because I know people, they're not going to come to the track for me to make them run in a circle for 40 minutes and build their zone 2. So to keep you safe and injury-free, I give you the guidelines to build a base, and then we can come together and we can do intervals and do the fun stuff, because that's the fun stuff. Pushing and feeling like you had a hard training is fun. And it moves the needle for sure. But it is up to you to build the base. I cannot hold your hand to build the base and then keep you injury-free. No base, the intervals won't be as effective. And you might overdo it for your body. Your body doesn't have resistance to do that speed. So start simple, do 2 easy runs per week, 20 minutes, keep them conversational, don't raise them, they're not supposed to feel hard. Trust me that it feels easy, but that if you do them consistently, they will still pay off. Remember, I took down more than a minute. On a strong day, I've even run a 4:35 to 4:40 pace at conversational pace. So it can be done, you just need to stick with it. And if you want some structure instead of guessing, you know where to find us, reach out, we can have a talk about this. We can even do this in personal training. I can guide you to do stuff by yourself. We can meet in Run Club. But if you want this in detail and you don't know how to do this by yourself, reach out and we can go more in detail.
Exactly. That's a perfect place to wrap it up. Everybody, please continue to send us your questions and we will challenge our head coach to answer them. Until next time, see you soon.